like I shared video also. So hope everyone completed that small POC. Like we developed very simple REST API to give like some high level understanding how this Mulesoft works, how to drag and drop the component, how to configure the component. Since we are going to discuss all these component connector and everything, so once I give you visual understanding how it works, then we will discuss theoretically also, and parallelly we will do multiple POC. So everyone clear on the last class what we did? Everyone did that same POC. Everyone put in chat how many of you have completed that simple API development in your system. Reply with yes if you have completed and no if you haven't. Okay, so I can see almost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But we have more participants. I'm not sure why 2, 3 people hasn't come. So for everyone, like whatever POC and whatever things we are doing, if you will not do in your system, then at the end of this course, this training will not be much helpful for you. Okay. If you
Yeah,
want to
and
have,
Ravi, I can't able to chat. Mm, I can't able to text. That's why.
okay. So today, like we will see, like component wise, we will see how things works. Okay. So let it start. Meanwhile, so whenever like we develop any API, okay. So let's say this is the front end application, like mobile application, okay? And this is our Mule API. Here we have one database. So mobile application, what it will do, it will make a request here, and then it will call the database. From database, it will get the response back, and this response will be sent back to mobile application. As we discussed last time, like in the Mule application, first thing what we need to do, we need to configure the HTTP listener. Okay. What this listener will do, it will take the request. So this listener contain all the detail like, so this listener we use to expose our API as a REST API. What is mean by exposing our API? Means we are giving some address so that anyone can call this API based on their requirement. Okay. So here, let's say they want to retrieve the customer detail. Okay. So here they want to retrieve customer detail from the database. Mobile application want to retrieve customer detail from the database. So first thing what they will do, they will pass the customer ID. Customer ID. This customer ID will pass to this listener as a, like this is the entry point of our API since we are exposing our API using listener. Then what we will do, we have to call this database, correct? So here we will call the database. Once we will get the response, we will get the customer detail. So what we need to do, we need to transform that. We need to transform that into response format. What format this API is expecting response. Okay. So once we will transform here, we will send back. So here you can see we are using this HTTP listener. This is the connector. Okay. Whenever you want to connect with any external system. So here what we are doing, we are connecting with the mobile application. Whenever you want to connect with any external system, you need connector. So this particular thing, what you can see, HTTP listener, this is one connector. Here, again, we are connecting with the external system, which is database. So how we will connect with database? We need database connector. Okay. Here, we are doing transformation logic. Okay. If you are doing any internal logic to achieve internal things to achieve the business logic, okay, then we need to use the component, Mulesoft component. Okay. So at this moment, you can use set payload or you can use transform message. We have two components. You can use any of the two components, either set payload or transform message. So what is difference between connector and component? Whatever like whenever you want to connect with the external system, you need connectors. And whenever you want to achieve the business logic, you will use components. Okay. If you go here, so here you can see these are the core components. Okay. Inside core components, we have batch component. We have this is like simple core components. Then we have error handling components. Then we have flow control components. And then we have scopes. Okay. So these many components we have. These are the core components. And inside add module, you will be able to see these are the connectors. If you want to connect with database, we will use database connector. If you want to connect with email service provider, we will connect with email SMTP connector. If you want to connect with remote file system, we will use FTP. If you want to connect with local file system, we will use file. Okay, like that, we have multiple connectors for Salesforce, for VMQ, for ServiceNow. We have different connectors, which we will use to connect with different external systems. Okay, and to achieve the business logic, what we will use? We will use the components. Okay, we will use these components. How we will use? So we will see slowly, like we will understand. So at this moment, like in today class, we are going to learn 2-3 component. Okay. So to learn those 2-3 component, what we will do, we'll develop one simple calculator API. Okay. So we will develop simple calculator API. Before going to that calculator API, whenever there will be any request to our Mule application, okay, immediately what it will do, it will create one Mule event. Okay. Whenever request will come to our Mule application, it will create one Mule event. Okay. And same Mule event will be keep rotating from one component to either component or connector to one connector. Okay. So whatever Mule processor we will have, it will keep moving to another place. So Mule component is here, then it will go here, and then once it will be back, again Mule event will be here. Okay. So it got created here. it will go here. Again, it will come here. And then this will be passed back. So what this Mule event contains, so that part we need to discuss. Okay. So whenever we are talking about Mule event, Mule event contains two part. Okay. One is message and then variable. So whenever Mule event will be created, it will create message and variable. Now within the message, okay, within message, it has like message again divided into two part. Okay. One will be payload and second will be attributes. Okay. Again, attributes will be divided into three part. First will be headers, then query params, and then okay. So this is the components of the Mule event. First is message and second is variable. Okay. Again, message is divided into payload and attributes. And attributes is again divided into header, query parameter, URL. Okay. So whenever you are developing any REST API, okay, so whoever calling the REST API, they will pass all this data. Okay, and all this data will be stored inside the Mule event. Okay, so how they will pass all this data? So we will see like means whatever front end application is there, they have capability to pass all this data. How they will pass and all those things we will see later. Okay, so when they will pass the payload, if they want to pass any processing data. What mean here like processing data? Let's say they want to they want to call one API. Front end want to call one API. That API will create customer record into database. Okay. So whenever we want to create customer records in database, what all things we need to pass? Customer ID, name, email, mobile number, address, all those things we need to pass. So this kind of data is known as processing data, which we are going to process. So if we are means if source system is passing the processing data, they have to pass inside the payload. And once Mule event will be created, that payload will be created with the processing data. Now coming to attribute. Attribute has three parts. So if they want to pass any metadata, if source system want to pass, whoever calling our Mule API, they want to pass any metadata. Metadata means data about the data. So this processing data is our actual data. So if we are passing any additional information for this processing data, that is known as metadata. So if let's say this processing data what we have, that data is of type JSON. We have seen we have multiple data type like JSON, XML, CSV file, text file. So let's say this processing data is in format of JSON. So that is the data type of this processing data. So if we are passing any metadata, we will pass inside the header. Okay. Next, query parameter. Okay. Let's say we are developing one API which will retrieve the customer information based on the customer age, based on the customer location, based on the customer gender. Okay. So these are what these are like age, gender. These all are filter condition here. Since what we are doing, we have lots of data, but we are retrieving all the customer having age more than 60 years. So this is what one kind of filter condition is there. So if we have any filter condition, we will pass inside the query parameter. Okay. And next we have URI parameter. If we have any unique identifier. Okay. If we have any unique identifier, then we pass inside the URI parameter. What is unique identifier? Let's say I want to retrieve the customer information based on the customer ID. So for each customer, they will have unique ID. If we have that kind of data, which is unique identifier, then we should pass inside the URI parameter. Okay. And variable, whenever we want to store the data temporary basis, then we will pass inside the variable. Then we will use the variable. This is used to hold the data. Okay. So whenever someone will call our API, Mule event will be created, and inside Mule event, this component will be created based on the what all data they are passing. Okay. If they are not passing the query parameter, this value will be null. If they are not passing URI parameter, this value will be null. If they are not passing the variable, this value will be null. Okay. Now, how we can see this Mule event? So let me show you. Okay. On this API only, I will show you. So what I will do, whenever we are running the application, we have two ways of running the application. One is run mode, another one is debug mode. If you will do in run mode, then entire application will be executed in one go. If there will be any failure, it will stop the application. But in debug mode, let's say you have some problem with your API and you want to debug your API, means you want to test your API, like where exactly it's failing, where it has wrong data or exactly it's creating problem. So what we can do, we can run our application in debug mode and we can check processing of each component. When you will start in run mode, simply it will start executing the component. It will not tell you which component we are processing at this moment. Wherever it will be failure, it will give you error. And once it, if in case like if it is successful, it will give you success response in case of run mode. But in debug mode, wherever you want, you can stop your execution. You can pause your application and you can analyze what all things are there. Okay. So this time we will run in debug mode. And at the same time, whenever request will come, I want to stop it here. Okay. So to stop it here, what you need to do, you need to add breakpoint. Do right click and go to add breakpoint.
Ravi, actually say the same error I'm also getting.
Yeah, checking. So Okay, so application you can see it's deployed successfully. Now what I will do, I will call this API. So this is the same API what we created last day only. So here, if you remember last time when we call this, immediately we got the response. But this time when you will call this, immediately you will not get response since your application is paused at this moment. Since we have added breakpoint and we started in debug mode, so it will resume here. Okay. Once it will resume, I want to see Mule event. So here you can see, you will able to see the data of the Mule event. You can see attributes are there. Okay. In attribute, URI parameter is there. Then query parameter is there. Then header is there. Okay. So these all headers we are passing from Postman. If you want to see, you can check here. So these are the headers we are passing. All these are metadata. This is not actual data, processing data, it's a metadata. Okay, so all headers are coming here. All, since we are not passing anything in query parameter, it's coming 0. We are not passing anything in URI parameter, it's coming as a 0. Okay, and payload also, we are not passing anything, it's coming as a null. Okay, but in this way, Mule event will be created where you can see attribute, you can see payload, and you can see variable. Okay, but at this moment, we are calling this API from front end and we are not passing any of this data. That's why everything is empty. Okay, attribute we are passing, header we are passing. These are default header of Postman. So these all headers are going to our API. Okay. Now, if I will click on next, then this component will execute and we don't have any other component. That's why it's completed its execution. Okay, no other component. So it will send response back through listener to calling system. So you will able to see this response here. So everyone clear on this, how we can run in debug mode and how we can see the Mule event? Anyone has any doubt on this part?
No. Yes, Ravi. When we use breakpoint, then only we can able to see that Mule event.
Okay, so two things are there. If you are running in debug mode, either you have to add the breakpoint, otherwise if it will fail anywhere, then it will stop there automatically. Okay, it will stop either on breakpoint or if there is any failure, then only it will stop. Otherwise, it will not stop. Is it clear?
I am asking about like that Mule event.
Yes.
If flow is stopped, then only we can see that Mule event.
Yes, correct. Not
Okay.
stop. Flow is paused.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other question on this part?
In interviews, like we can say directly what is Mule event means. It is combination of attributes and payload like that.
Sorry, it's a
In interviews, if they ask like what is a Mule event, we can say like it is a combination of attributes and
message and variable.
variable. Okay.
Okay. Again, message is divided into two parts, where attribute is again divided into three parts. Is it clear?
Yes, Rohit. Yes.
Now what I did, I added few more component. Okay, this logger component, what it will do, whatever you will write here, it will generate log in console. Okay, so let's say I will keep logger here first. I kept two logger. In one place, I logged start logger. In another place, I logged end logger. Okay, now I will like run this application again. Okay, this time first let me show you. I will run this application and then second time I will show you. I will debug the application. This time I'm running the application. Time I'm running the application. So this time you will see when I'm calling this, we got the response directly. It will not stop here. It will not stop and break point. And here you can see we have this logger start logger. So this log got created and you can see the same message start logger. Again, we have end logger. So this logger got created and you can see message here end logger. Okay. So what this logger component will do, it will generate log in your console. Okay. And why we exactly need the log? So let's take one real life example. When you go for a hospital, okay, they like if patient is very serious, then they attach many monitoring device, okay, to check the status, to check the health of the like patient. Okay, so what that monitoring device do? That is that like that will not make cure of that particular patient, but that monitoring device monitor the health of the patient. Everything is going good or not. Same way, this logger, this will not play any role in the business part. Okay, whenever whatever business logic you will write here, this logger will not part of business logic, but this logger help us to monitor our new API. Okay, if something will go wrong, then based on this logger detail, we will able to identify, okay, what is the wrong, what is problem with this API. As I mentioned, in hospitals, monitoring device will not make cure of the patient, like it will not help to like cure the patient, but it helps to monitor the health of the patient. Same way, this logger don't play any role in the business logic part. It only help us to monitor our API. Okay, and whatever log you want to capture, you can put here. Okay, we will see complex part also, but at this moment, very simple. I kept start logger, but we don't put simply start logger. We used to have many things here. Okay, this time we completed in run mode. Now I will start in debug mode. I will add breakpoint here. Here also, like you can put multiple breakpoint also, and you can put one also. So it's deployed successfully. Now I will call this API. Okay, so request came here, and you can see here attribute got created, payload got created, variable got created. So Mule event got created. Okay. Now here you can see we have multiple components. One first component. If you want to stop this processing, okay, whatever processing we are doing here, if you want to stop, you can do this. This x plus y, this is Mule expression, like database expression palette it will generate. Okay. Once you will click on this, it will generate one database expression palette. So this we will see later on. Okay. Since we haven't started study on the database part, so at this moment you will not able to understand, but we will discuss on this. Okay. And then we have next processor. Okay. If you will click on next processor, it will go for next component. Okay, let's click here. See that log got generated and it control went here. Till this point, you can see payload is empty. But now here we are setting the payload. Using this component, we are setting the payload. If I will click on next, see now payload has this value. Okay. Now payload contains this value. Welcome to Mulesoft world. Okay. And once you will complete this also, then second logger came here, this logger, and everything is completed. So you will able to see response here. Okay. Now another thing we will see. Let me remove this and let me add here. Okay. I made request. Request came here. Now, if you will select this option, next processor, control will go here. Okay. Once you will break it, once you will resume it, once you will click next processor, it will go one by one. First here, second here, third here, fourth here, like that. Okay. So here we don't have this breakpoint, but still it will resume here. Since once you will resume anywhere, then this next processor will go one by one component by one component. Okay, then it will go next, then it will go next. But let's say you don't want to stop in each component, you want to stop on next breakpoint. Then what you need to do? If I will do this next processor, again it will go to set payload, and then again it will once we will click, it will go to here. But I don't want to stop here. I want to stop on next breakpoint. Then you need to select this resume option. See, it skipped this component and it went from here to here. It went, but it will not resume here. It will resume on next part. When it will go from here to here, then it will be resume here. Okay, so this resume option we use for that particular purpose. Let me know anyone has any doubt.
Hi Ravi.
Yes.
So when the dotted line is on the set payload, so it is not showing the payload welcome to Mulesoft world, but when it is the dotted line is on the logger,
Yeah.
it is showing the
Correct.
set payload information.
Yeah.
So
Correct. So once, yeah, if you can see dotted line here, means we are at this component, but this one is not completed. Okay. Once you will do next processor, then this will be processed.
okay, got it. Got it. Thanks.
Okay. And then click on next. Then this will be completed. So here we have two way of running the Mule application. One is run mode, another one is debug mode. One is run mode, another one is debug mode. Then we have breakpoint, which will help you in debug mode to stop the execution, to pause the execution at particular component. And then we have multiple options there. Next processor, resume, database expression. Okay, those options we have by which you can debug your application easily. Okay, and we have this logger component. This logger component will help you to log your message. Okay, whenever you want to log any particular message, then you can use this logger component. Okay, the set payload component we use to set the payload. Okay, in this mule event, we have this payload. To set this payload, we use set payload component. To set the variable, we use set variable component. If you want to update your mule event, so first time when request will come, mule event will be created here. Mule event will be created here. Then mule event will be keep rotating. Okay, so you can update mule event anytime. So initially payload was empty, but here we updated the mule event and we set the payload value. Okay, we set this payload value. So you can update your mule event anytime. So as I mentioned, for today, we will have small class only, like short class only. So whatever we covered till this point, anyone has any doubt, let me know. Otherwise, we are good to close out session for today.
Ravi, is there any database need to install?
Database, okay. No need to install the database. I will give you cloud version. Okay.
Okay.
So you will able to use cloud version, so your system performance will not degrade. That setup I will tell you once we will start the database connector. I will tell you how to create account on database cloud, and you can use the cloud database. Okay, fine then. So we are good for today.
Yeah, Ravi, as of now, like this thing we will practice, and can we connect in the evening if we have any doubts?